Hello, fellow YouTubers. Welcome back to the Trouble 8385 show. So today our topic is, how do bills get rammed through Congress? Now, first of all, when a bill dies for whatever reason, one of the things that Congress does, parties do that, or groups or whatever, what they like to do is they like to rebrand a bill. They change the name, they change the wording to make the public either think it's something it's not, or to make it sound better on paper for the people who oppose it, and then they try to get it through. One of the funny things about today when it comes to bills is there are so many groups involved when it comes to a bill. You have the lobbyists for the companies and activist groups or whatever. They have a certain way they want things to be passed. And those lobbyists, of course, talk to politicians and the president. They try to influence them one way or another. And there are a lot of ways they do that. Sometimes it's a campaign contribution, which is bribing just in a legal form, because politicians get to keep all their campaign contributions, which, like our president saying, I want $1 billion in campaign contributions. Makes you wonder if it's a retirement fund for him, but anyway. And then, or they'll support another bill or something else. The other thing you have are these activist groups out there, right? They align themselves with parties or an agenda. And if a politician votes for this, what they'll do to help them is they'll push it out to this certain group they have influence in, like, hey, this bill sounds great, or they'll do advertisements to try to make you think that it's something it's not. Rule number one about any bill, law you see in the books, you need to read the whole thing. There are always catches in it, there are always things you may not catch. One of the things that had developed the last couple of years in politics, what they like to do is they like to take something they want to pass and hide it in another bill. For example, in our military spending bills, for a couple of them, they've tried to throw in illegal immigration stuff just hidden within that bill and didn't think they would catch it. Because they didn't think it would pass on its own due to public pressure and the voting. And so what happens, what we're in now is in a state where these bills will continually get rammed through over and over again, and at some point they'll go through, and sometimes what they'll do is they'll lower the bill. They'll take the initial bill and they'll just get a small part of it, and they'll know they'll get that part through because it seems harmless. To them it's step one. And then the next time they change the bill, they add a little bit more, and then they add a little bit more, and then before you know it, the original bill you opposed is completely passed. This is where the problem comes for the public these days, because the public needs to pay attention to the politicians. I know it's not a popular thing to talk about. It's a very vital thing. It's a very personal thing with people, whether they're aligned with a certain party or a certain ideal. Like Occupy Wall Street. I'm sure when they first started in theory, it sounds great, what they wanted. But now, with all the people who influence what's going on, what's ultimately going to happen to that group, I can't tell you. But the problem is, the more people join a group, the more the original ideal gets lost. Right now in this country, we need more than two parties, because they know they only have to negotiate one side, and if they get that, like, let's take when our president, first 2 years of Obama, in his first 2 years, he had a super majority of Congress of his party. Never in the history of this country have we ever had such a majority that there was no way the other party could stop anything. There was nothing the public could do outside of going to court and hoping that the Supreme Court rules it unconstitutional, which the Supreme Court is going to have to rule at some point on the health care bill. They could have ran through anything they wanted to, but they didn't because they were scared, which is weird because they really didn't do much when you actually look at it, which is kind of weird. Remember, the people who are voting on these bills have either never run anything in their life, have never had to work for anything. They pretty much had a lot of stuff to them. They weren't poor. They weren't starving. In most cases, they were people who've always had the silver spoon and cents in their mouth, and that they don't know what it's like to be an average person. And that's where the gap is right now in politics. The gap is simply this. The average person and the people in office are two different things. Someone who's never been poor or never struggled in life can never understand what it's like to be that way. No matter what they tell you, no matter what they've observed in life, there's no way to understand. I will never understand what it is to have racism against me for being a black person because I'm not black. Or that race. Whatever you want to call it. I have seen it happen to people, but that I don't understand. I don't know what that's like. Even seeing it doesn't mean I know what it's like or what that person's feeling, what they've gone through. That's the disconnect today. So something I'd like to talk about today, guys. I will see you soon.